Echo. My room has an Echo. So when Echo first came out in Red Crow, he had one yokai drone that could go invisible. So what are the perks of having an invisible yokai drone? You can't see it. That's a perk, I guess. It was also super good for denying plant because it was really, really hard for the attackers to shoot it. But then they kind of changed Echo, I don't know, a couple years ago, whatever. They made his yokais not invisible, so now you can see them and shoot them a lot easier as an attacker. You don't really need IQ to get them, especially if you're trying to just deny plant with them. You know, they're on the ceiling somewhere in the bomb site and they will stop the plant. So obviously taking away the invisibility, people played him less. It was considered a nerf. He did get an extra yokai drone in the process, which was kind of nice. But for the most part, people kind of stopped playing him. And the people that do play him still play him like the exact same way, just using them both to try and stop the plant. But I'm here today to tell you that Echo is the most underrated operator in the game, and he's still fucking awesome. Just for other reasons. To my Echo players out there, what do? You set up your yokais, you get them ready in sight somewhere, you're probably considering yourself an anchor, and you're using your yokais to stop the plant if it comes down to that point by the end of the round where there's, 20 seconds left. You have 2 Echoes, you stop the plant, you do some parkour with them, you stop the plant again, whatever it is. That's moral of the story, what people do, right? Yes, but that's the wrong way to play him. I'm here today to tell you that's the wrong way to play Echo, and there's better ways, okay? Okay. Yes, denying the plant is great, but there's only really very rare circumstances where you can actually do this. Now, in competitive, you have this entire team strategy dedicated to wasting time on the roam, wasting time mid-round, and then getting the attackers to kind of feed into sight at the last 10-15 seconds and trying to plant the bomb then. But really, like 99% of the time, this isn't the case, in ranked, at least. It's just not getting to this point. It's not getting to those last 10 seconds where, it's a 3v3 and they're trying to plant the bomb and cover. No, it's probably just like they're running in and the round only lasts a minute long or maybe 2 minutes. You're probably not going to be able to stop the plant enough times to waste out the round timer. So really the only circumstance where you can deny the plant is if there's less than like 15 seconds and your Echo drone's alive and they don't know where it is and you can deny that plant twice. But chances are they're probably just going to shoot it after the first time you stop the plant. And it only takes 7 seconds to plant, meaning you would have to Echo them or they'd have to start planting with less than 7 seconds left for your yokai to actually stop the plant and win you the round. Denying the plant, kind of out of meta, especially in ranked. So what's the right way to actually play Echo? Well, that's what this video is for. I'm going to go through all the best strategies to use because there is more than just one way. Before we talk about Echo though, let's talk about a very similar operator, Valkyrie, because she is so strong and this is going to come in handy later. So Valkyrie is also an info operator. She has Val cams that get you info along similar to the Echo cams that you can gather info with because they're cameras. And a big part about why Valkyrie is so strong is because of nitro traps. So Valkyrie herself has a nitro cell and the cameras, meaning she can get herself the info to set up nitros from below, to explode people from underneath. So Valk is really, really strong because she has this solo ability to get nitro kills through the floor very easily, along with a really good gun like the MPX, the Deagle for making lines of sight, holes, right? So Valkyrie overall, very strong. And a large part of that is because of those nitro traps like I mentioned. This is especially true on maps with a lot of soft floors in strong spots. So like theme park, border, consulate, right? You have like the piano room and consulate, which is right above the site. A lot of people try to open that floor. You can nitro them from underneath. Valkyrie, nitro traps, very good. Start using them if you don't. So the first way to use the yokais is very similar to this. You set up those cameras to get info on a room with a soft floor, and then your teammates are going underneath, placing a nitro cell, and you're calling out when to blow it, getting you, oh my gosh, so many kills, so easy. This is a very, very easy way to play Echo and get easy wins, and all you need is just one other teammate who's willing to run a C4 op and put the nitro down for you. If you don't have teammates though, there's plenty other ways to use them while solo queuing, so don't worry, because we're going to talk about those ways right now. The first of which is just playing super aggressive with Echo, but doing it with the yokais. You see a guy on the cam who's nearby, just stun them and swing them. When you stun them, their audio is really bad, so they just can't hear you coming out and swinging on them. Now, they may be watching that doorway, so ideally you're doing this in an area where they could be swung from multiple different directions rather than just like they're outside a doorway holding an angle, because that's really not going to get you anywhere. But if they're in a bad spot where they could be swung from multiple doorways, just stun that dude, swing out on him. He won't hear you coming. His screen's all a mess, and you have a major advantage going into that gunfight. So that's a fight really you should win. And if you don't, well, maybe you just gotta hit the aim lab or something. Again, just wait till they're in a bad position, stun them, swing them, collect your bag. Easy frag, easy money, easy elo. This is basic, but it's super effective. It's personally not my go-to, but it's a very easy way to play Echo, especially if you're newer to the game or you're in a lower rank. This is probably a good starting point. My go-to for solos would probably be using them to stall time early. So what I mean by this is you use your echoes on very common entrances into the map or the site that you're playing. So common exterior entrance, so the outer door, outer window, and you set up your yokai in that spot to stun them as they punch the doorway or the window. You shoot a stun blast at them. This wastes like 10, 15 seconds of their time. They're sitting there waiting for the disorientation to go away before they proceed to actually enter the map. So by doing this, you're stalling time early in the round, and you still have those yokais afterwards to stall them throughout the round. So you can yokai them early, drive your drone away. They come in through another door, you stun them again, you drive your drone away. A really good tip for this is setting them up behind objects, so that way when you drop them down, they're in cover. So if you're behind a shelf, stick it to the roof, you stun the guy, you drop it down, your yokai is now behind the shelf, so they can't actually shoot it, and then you can drive it away from there. So if you're doing this just in the middle of the open and you drop it to the ground, they're just gonna shoot it if it's nearby, right? They can see it on the ground, but if you do it behind like a shelf, a desk, a drawer, whatever, then it will be in cover, a lot harder for them to shoot, or maybe even impossible for them to shoot, and it leaves that only small time window for them to actually shoot it. This will allow you to use it way more often without it getting shot, recharge those yokai blasts, and continuously stall time throughout the round. So basically what you're doing with this way of playing them is just stunning as many people as many times as you can to waste as much time as you can. It's a good way to just throw off the general pacing of the attack and just fuck with people. Either that, or because their pacing is horrible, they are just wasting too much time in the mid round or the early round, which leads them to having no time at the end of the round. So that way they're flooding into the site in the last 5 seconds, and you're just shooting them as they sprint to the site because they are absolutely panicking, or you just hide, they don't plant the bomb, whatever. Moral of the story, you're wasting time early and guaranteeing that you're wasting time early, rather than hoping that they're low time at the end of the round and hoping you can deny the plant. It's just an absolute mess at the end of the round because you're wasting all that time early on. So rather than investing the time stall and your yokais at the end of the round on the execution to stop the plant that may never happen, you're guaranteeing that you're time stalling at the beginning of every single round. So you're using your time stall still, just rather than at the end of the round, you're using at the start of the round. So you're still stalling that amount of time effectively. It's just not at the end. And you can actually guarantee that you can do it every single time. So the late round is really your time to shine. If you're doing it this way, the time's low, you just play passive, hold passive angles, let them feed into sight, collect the kills as they sprint in, you just stay alive, it's an easy round win, all stemmed off the fact that you wasted their time early on. That doesn't mean it will happen every round. Sometimes you're screwed and you just get slaughtered. That's Siege. You gotta shake those ones off because sometimes your teammates just get smoked. You don't waste any time. They don't waste any time, and you're in a 1v4 and you get your cheeks clapped. But hey, that's the way she goes sometimes. And sometimes you don't get your cheeks clapped, and clutchable situations are much easier with an echo cam, which leads me to our next tactic, fucking clutching. Echo is probably the best clutch op right after smoke. Its 1.5 scope makes it super easy to take long range fights with the MP5, it has low recoil, it's easy headshots, and then the Bearing 9 is an absolute beast at close range. So he's kitted up for long range gunfights, close range gunfights, and then if you slide in the power of a yokai drone in there, it's just 10 times easier to win those clutch situations. Not only do you have the info of where the attackers are actually at thanks to the yokai drone, but you can use it to stun them before the engagements to make your job even easier, make that gunfight even easier. Picture a post-plant situation with any other operator, okay? The attackers planted the bomb, they are now playing a post-plant, they're hiding, whatever. They might be playing smart, they might not. They might be running at you, whatever. So your first job as that retaking defender is figure out where all of them are, take the gunfights one-on-one, take them all out, kill all of them, and then get back and defuse the bomb, all in a very limited amount of time because the diffuser's planted, right? Now picture that, but you already know where all of them are. All you have to do is run at them and kill them all now. thanks to the yokai drone. So it just cuts that time in half that you actually need to retake, because you don't have to go looking for them in all these random locations. You're not guessing at where they're at. You know where they're at thanks to your yokai drone. The last solo tactic I have for Echo that is probably the most fun one is spawn peeking using Echo. I'm probably gonna make a full video on this very soon because this is fucking revolutionary shit, man. Okay, so basically I was thinking you could spawn peek with an Echo drone by putting it in a windowsill, attach it to the roof, and then see where they come out of spawn, get off the cam, shoot them, right? But it doesn't really work that well, because what tends to happen is they see the wide open window and they just stare at it, and then when you stick your face in it, they just shoot you in the face. So I kind of got experimenting a little bit, and it turns out what you need to do is kind of the same thing. You put the Echo drone in a windowsill, under a doorway, in a drone hole, whatever, and you go to a completely different window that is far away but still looking at the same spawn. And then what you could do is look at the Echo, figure out where they're coming out of spawn from, and then using his impact grenades, or just shooting out the window, you can impact out a wall, you can impact out the window, and you can just laser beam these kids from the other direction, because chances are they're looking at that wide open window where your yokai drone's at, and the next thing you know, a window explodes open and they're getting shot in the side of the head. So this is how I like to spawn peek with Echo. And this is probably the most like strategic way to spawn peek, because you're actually doing it off of info. So you know the timing of when they actually come out of spawn. You're not just guessing, you're not just hoping. And it eliminates the risk by knowing where they're actually at. So you're not getting shot in the side of the head jumping out by a guy who's holding an angle, because you'll see it on your yokai. So it's one of the only like strategies to spawn peeking, I guess. It works. Because it's calculated and it eliminates that risk. Along with that, you have a 1.5 scope to do it with, so who's complaining there? So these are some of the best ways to use Echo while solo, but Echo absolutely powers up to another level when you have a squad at your back. I already went over the nitro traps a little bit earlier. Yes, you'll need at least a duo for that, so send the video to your duo if you have them to at least get the nitro traps down, because the nitro traps is probably the best way to play them with a squad. So send this to them so they can learn too. Another way you can use Echo with a squad, or even just a duo, is droning your roamers or teammates around. So whether they're roaming and you just want to stun people and tell them to swing them, that's one way to do it. Or if you've lost the man advantage, let's say you're like in a 3v5 on site and the attackers have taken vertical control, or they're pressing you from different staircases, you can use that yokai to actually drone your teammate up on a flank. So by droning them up, you can then call out where the attackers are holding the flank from, or if they're not even watching the flank, and you can make some big plays to bring the man advantage back, get a couple frags, come back to site, and then you all of a sudden you have even man advantage rather than being pinched from different directions. You've cleared up space on the opposite sides. You only have to focus one side. It's just crazy, man. It's just crazy. So that's a really, really easy way to take pressure off of you on site by helping your teammates find those kills and bring the numbers back. So you can drone your teammates, or you can just set them up in areas that gives them tons of info. The same way you would with a Val Cam, where you set them up in rooms that are really strong. You can do the same thing with an Echo drone. My favorite spot for this 100% is the bank lobby pillar. You go to the corner, you throw it up on the roof, it gets stuck in the corner, and you can see all of lobby, and nobody's fucking looking here for an Echo Cam. I guarantee it. Especially a Valkspan. Nobody's really looking here for an Echo. They might not have an IQ because Valkspan. The callouts on this is huge. I mean, if you're solo, your teammates might not be listening to the calls. It's kind of hard to trust them on whether or not they are going to use your callouts. If you get some good randoms on your team, go ahead, try this out. But if you have a squad you trust and you know they'll listen to your callouts, having the Echo Cam set up like this is a great way to just get tons of info. And info is absolutely everything in Rainbow Six. If you know nobody's in lobby, there's nobody coming in lobby, you can say, hey guys, they're all coming from the other side. Lobby's completely clear. I'll let you know if they come on the backside. And then your teammates don't even have to watch that area at all. They don't have to look behind them. They don't have to hold that staircase. And that's one more guy that you can focus on the main push and actually contest where the attackers are coming from. Because info, siege, everything. Info is power. In a way, is almost even better than Valkyrie, because if they aren't pushing that way, you can move the drones. You can drive the drones around to different areas. So a lot of time I find with Valk, you'll have one Valk cam that's just completely useless because the attackers aren't coming anywhere near there. But with Echo, if that Echo cam is being useless for info, you can just drive it away and put it in an area that is useful. So there's a lot of versatility in the way you can use those cams and the way they're set up that makes it very nice, very nice. You can even drive them outside to see if attackers are like holding cutoff angles or flanks from outside. There's a 10-second timer on your camera outside during the round. It's 2 seconds in prep phase, so don't drive them outside in prep phase. But in the round, there's a 10-second timer. You can drive your cam out for 5 seconds and drive it back in for 5 seconds. 5 seconds is a long time to drive in a straight line on a drone. You can get a lot of info from this. So by driving your echo cams outside as well, it's just another way to gather info, and nobody's expecting an echo cam on the ground outside. So trust me, it's a great move. The same way with spawn peaks, you can drive them outside. So if you're driving it outside a drone hole, like on a spawn peak, great example of this is theme park, you then know if they're repelling or where they're coming out of spawn from. So this is another good way to do it if you are spawn killing. You do have to be careful though, especially if you're rotating your cameras off from one spot to another, because moving the drone from one location to another does take a lot of time. So you have to make sure you're in a safe place while doing it. One of the worst things about Echo is you can die on your cameras quite often, especially if you're using them too much. So the philosophy, I guess, or the idea for avoiding this is pick a spot with hard floors. Pick a spot with hard floors so you can't be naded through the floor, and sit beside some reinforcements or some hard walls. You don't want to be next to a soft wall or anywhere you can get shot through a window. Nothing like that. So pick literally the most bunkerish position you can find, but one that isn't like 10 miles away from sight, because sometimes you just can't use your cameras. Your teammates need help. You have to get off the cameras and actually shoot people. You're not just a security guy. You are a man with a gun. You do have to take gunfights with Echo. That should be common sense, but some people sit like on the other side of the map in a 1v4 hoping they can deny the plant with a minute left. Like, that's not going to work, man. It's not going to work. They're going to shoot your cams eventually. So yeah, pick a good spot. Don't get naded. Don't get wallbanged. You're good to go. Moral of the story, Echo is extremely versatile. There's tons of playstyles with him, and he is underrated as hell. I know that I'm going to be playing a lot more Echo after playing him for these past few days, so stop denying the plant with Echo, switch it up, play aggressive, get crazy with it, try some things out yourself. You might learn something, you might find a whole new way to play him, because that's what Siege is all about, baby. Be careful though, because sometimes they just like, don't work.
Going breach.
Dude, he didn't get echoed. What the fuck?